Hi, everyone. My name is Michelle Barnett with Aljoya Thornton Place. I am delighted today to introduce to you Dick Carruthers, who is a seniors real estate specialist with Windermere. He has been a realtor with Windermere for over 30 years, and he has successfully negotiated and closed many transactions in all sorts of market conditions. He's also on the advisory board at Windermere's Seniors Transitions Group. So he has joined us today to present Selling Your Home, a guide for seniors. So without further ado, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and I will hand it over to Dick. All right.
Okay, can everybody hear me? Hello?
I can hear you just fine, Dick. It sounds good.
Okay, all right. So thank you for attending. My name is Dick Carruthers with Windermere Real Estate, and I'm here today to share with you information that covers all aspects of making a move. What I have learned through my education and experience is that, especially when you've lived in a home for decades, that there's a lot more components to getting ready to move and then move than most people realize. So what I first wanted to share with you is information about what's going on in our marketplace today, especially in light of the COVID and many other issues. So the factors that basically make up for a good marketplace for sellers.
I'm sorry, Dick. I'm sorry, Dick, to interrupt you. But before you continue, do you mind pressing from beginning so everyone can see your presentation? Perfect.
Oh, okay. All right.
Thank you.
You bet. Of course, first thing to consider is the cost of borrowing money. Since really most real estate buyers do get a mortgage. So today's interest rates for a 30-year fixed rate loan are at 2.9%, which is historically as low as interest rates have ever been. As far as what's going on with the price of homes today, we're seeing a slow increase in prices. As far as personal income goes, yes, the unemployment rate is at 8.0%. At the peak of our marketplace last year, it was 3.5. But interesting enough, in most of your marketplaces, there are numerous buyers out there, well qualified. And I think what we're seeing is they're more tied to tech jobs, and more of those type of jobs can work from home or in the office. And the rest of it is more in the services providers, restaurants, et cetera, where we're I think seeing a weakness. And the last thing that makes for a good market is supply and demand. And in our marketplace today, the supply is quite low, and the demand is as high as it was last year, year before last. And of course, when you have that situation, it bodes well for being a seller. So as I mentioned earlier, I'm a member of a seniors real estate specialist organization that's has nationwide membership. And in keeping tracks of markets and what people are going through, interesting enough that even though, as we're seeing, the marketplace is really is quite healthy. If you wanted to sell today, there's, even with the COVID, there's protocols in place that make selling a home not that much more difficult than in a normal environment. But what can occur is that this organization will go out periodically and do mass questionnaires to an average age group of about 78, 79 years of age, and about 750 to 1,000 individuals. And one of the questions that they ask is, do you have any fears that hold one back from making a move, even if you seriously know or think it's a good time to do so? Well, the number one response was just the fear of change, moving out of your comfort level, moving out of a home or neighborhood that you've been in for many years. The next one was fear of downsizing, the packing and the sorting, which was 20% or 26% of them polled. I would have thought that would have been the number one thing, because the whole downsizing situation can become, very nerve-wracking for you. The next one was the emotional fears. Am I going to miss my home? Am I going to make the right decision for myself? And what I've experienced professionally is that the right decision being made becomes much easier when you've been provided with the information and enough information that you need to feel comfortable in your decision making. Lastly, financial concerns, which I found interesting because, again, only 4% said financial concerns were holding them back. And if any of you have been out looking at whether it's a condominium, an apartment, moving to a community such as Aljoya, none of these moves are inexpensive. But in the big picture, they did not tend to really make up a large part of what people were thinking. So I put this in here so that if you're kind of experiencing one of these emotions, you're not alone. It happens consistently throughout the senior demographic. Again, the same group was asked, what are the top reasons that to make a move? And 42% mentioned it was just maintaining their house. And what I have found in working with people is that even though some have the means to hire every little thing out, when you're in a home long enough and you're looking out at saying, oh, a gutter needs fixing, this needs to be done, that needs to be done, it tends to wear on you. The second one was health issues, 34%. And there tends to be a couple groups of people where this really comes into play. The first group is that either family members or other situations that kind of have a little glimpse of the future on, will a health issue perhaps come up to where I have to move. The second one is you're up on that gutter trying to fix it. You're doing these various items and you happen to either fall or get hurt. And then all of a sudden you're told, well, the house just isn't working out for you. Too many stairs, perhaps there's not in-home care, that type of thing. So if that occurs, that's probably the worst time to make a decision. Well, wow, I need to make my move. One, it's not that easy. There's waiting lists and whatnot for most places that you'd want to move to. And secondly, the decisions that are made during that time frame, it goes too fast, and oftentimes it's quite regrettable. And once you move, you really don't want to go through moving twice. Third one was downsizing. The home is too large. Yes, in general, the homes that we're in are all too large. I mean, when you have one or two people in a 3,000 square foot home, well, what tends to happen is that, different bedrooms, the doors get shut, nothing occurs, and you're just living in a certain small part of your home. The last one is loneliness. And Loneliness is actually, from my perspective, getting more towards the top of the list. And that being is that we as people, we need interaction with other human beings. And as we get older and friends move on, et cetera, rattling around in the house or wherever you reside by yourself for hours on end, it can become unhealthy. And this is really a proven fact. So I just wanted to make you aware of that. All right. What we're going to get into at this point is the actual process in starting to get one's home ready to go on the market. The first thing that many people do is they decide to perhaps have a realtor or two over to the house to do their interview. One of the things that you need to be aware of, because it's much easier if this is of concern to you to address these things up front rather than waiting 3 weeks down the road once everything's begun. The question is about how we as agents, our definition is defined. And in our state, we have the seller's agent, which is the individual and their company that you hire to represent and be your advocate. The buyer's agent, they represent strictly the buyer, even though they could be a Windermere agent such as myself, they still have only the buyer's agent interest in mind. And lastly, there's what's called dual agency. And in our state, one agent is able to represent both buyer and seller in a transaction. After years of experience, I don't believe that individually one agent can 100% represent both parties. I know your tax accountant isn't going to represent the IRS in an audit. If you happen to hire an attorney, they don't represent both parties. And I think when it comes to real estate with all that's involved, again, each person should have their own individual representation. But I wanted to make you aware of this if it's something that might be of concern with you down the road. All right. In our industry of real estate, I think that it's important that the level of service you experience is always in your best interest, bar none. The number one problem that I hear out there over the years is talking to sellers, buyers, or just being at a social event and listening to friends and whatnot talk. And that is communication. It's critical that the communication between you and your broker be exactly as you'd like it, whether it's a daily, weekly, monthly communication, so that there's no surprises when an offer comes in on your home and you're being asked to sign the contract. So what I've decided to do is I've actually addressed this in some guarantees to make the people I work with aware of where my thoughts are. Again, we talked about communication and activity report. The second one is called a quick cancel guarantee. And it doesn't happen often, but there have been times when I meet with someone, we go on the market, and then something, and this of course would be before you're under contract with a buyer, something comes up, whether it's a health issue, a family issue, something of that nature, where it becomes pretty clear that now is not the right time for you to sell your home. My perspective is that you have a discussion, We cancel the contract and you're free to move on. And then perhaps get back together later. Now, when you list your home for sale, your real estate agent is going to have you sign a listing contract. And oftentimes, if you wish to cancel that contract, there's a school of thought out there that, well, I'll take your home off the market for you. But if you happen in the terms of our contract to decide to sell your home to your adult children, or something on a personal note like that, they'll oftentimes ask that they get paid a commission if that occurs. Lastly, and as a thank you for coming to the seminar, I provide $1,000, I call it a senior discount, towards the brokerage fee at the closing of your sale. Because I do know that during the process of getting your home ready, you're going to incur some costs, whether it's carpet cleaning, window washing, those type of things. And if not, you still get the credit, again, as a thank you. If you have any questions, do feel free to speak up during this process. All right. So I've been talking a bit about communication, which is just, it's critical in the real estate. And so what I've done is design a questionnaire that helps you and anyone in your sphere who's helping you make a major decision about your real estate move. A couple of questions. One is, do you have a financial advisor who helps you determine whether you can afford a community of your choice? I recommend that if you don't know this for sure, that's one of the things that you find out at the beginning, because you don't want to get excited, get a call from the community, and then you find out, oops, I really can't afford it. I also, at the very end of the questionnaire, have a phrase, assume it's 6 months from now. Please describe the perfect situation for yourself. Well, when I hand these out, I tend to give one to whether it's spouses. They each fill out one separately, share it with themselves, eventually share it with me, adult children, whoever is going to be helping you make key decisions. Each of you fill this out to make sure you're all on the same page, and that I'm able to make sure that there aren't any mistakes done based on your past experiences. So assume it's 6 months from now. It's rare, but I have had a situation where I've gone out to pay a visit to a home, and sitting there with both parties, and one party, she is really excited about downsizing, not cooking much anymore, perhaps doing all those social activities that they'd given up for a while. And I looked at his, and his perfect situation was, well, I'm looking forward to going out to my shop next spring and starting another project. And so I looked at him and I said, wow. I said, it looks like you, sir, don't want to move. And he looked at me and he says, no, I don't want to move. She does. Well, can you imagine if this conversation came up while you're on the market or under contract? So I excused myself, talked to them a few months later, and they finally decided to move. But again, especially if you have adult children, they might have a whole different perspective on mom and dad, or mom or dad making that move. So it's kind of fun, may help you with your thoughts. Let's start discussing the steps in preparing your house for sale. As you see here, most buyers make their buying decisions based on the emotion that they have for a particular property. And then as they're going further down the line, they justify the decision based on logical things and rational criteria. So it's important that when we are looking to get the home ready for market, that the buyer, from the minute they look online at the internet and the photo galleries to when they drive up to the driveway, that they start getting excited, which will enable them to perhaps write an offer on your home. As a seller, you need to be aware that there are 4 different sets of eyes that at some point in the process will be looking at your home. The first one, of course, is the buyer and the buyer's agent. The second one will be the home inspector. In the majority of cases, a home inspector, which is normally paid for by the buyer, will come out during the process and do a complete inspection, which I'll cover a little bit later. And lastly, we have a bank appraiser who will come out. Bank appraisers tend to come out to the house, look at it, measure it, and their criteria is to justify that the price you've negotiated is going to fit within their guidelines. They also look at any major items that might just pop up. I mean, if you have a blue tarp on your roof, especially today with the rain, you've got, an old fuse panel on the back porch in an old home, they may call for that to be fixed in order for the bank to lend on the property. All right. So what's the first step? First step is meeting out at the house, and we have a walkthrough. We walk around the outside of the home and look at, are there tree branches laying on the roof? Has that camellia bush or rhododendron that you planted 30, 40 years ago, has it grown up so you can't even see the bay window in the front of the house? Is the grass 3 feet tall? We look at those aesthetic things and determine, okay, what should be done to help with the selling experience. And then we try to attach a price to it to see if that's something that fits into your affordability. Likewise, when we go in the house, we look at the aesthetics as well. If you are going to live in your home during the selling process, then we need to make sure that if you have too much furniture covering the view windows, that type of thing, that's the time we may have a conversation about putting a few things into storage. Other aesthetic things on carpet, paint, that's really on a case-by-case basis and how it looks while we're walking through, because not everybody may want to paint the house the same color that you want to. As far as carpet, things like that, if you've got beautiful hardwood floors that haven't been seen in 40 years under perhaps a shag green carpet from the 60s, we may want to consider, if you're not living there, taking that carpet up and just exposing the hardwoods. I'm often asked, well, what about redoing kitchens and redoing bathrooms to enhance the value? And I would say the majority of people do not go through this process. If you've ever watched HGTV and those home improvement shows where they get a whole house done in 4 to 6 weeks for $40,000, I'm here to tell you that that's not reality when it comes to doing projects here in Seattle anyway. The remodel process can take months. The costs are going to be 3 times that. And the real question is, is there going to be a payback? Well, if you're going to spend $50,000 on a new kitchen, you are hoping that you make more money off of that than just trying to recoup your dollars. So again, it's a case-by-case thing. We put pricing to everything and then determine, and you determine what's best for you. as far as downsizing goes too, if you have an apartment that you're going to, or a condo, or wherever you're moving to, and you're able to move first, that is, of course, the best of all worlds. You're able to start the process of what to keep because you know where you're going, what to pack, what to move, and of course, what you're going to donate, or perhaps an estate sale situation. Again, if you're not moving first, well, then it's a little more work, but again, it works out fine. So a couple things that people go through when they're thinking of downsizing is psychologically, it's letting go. Though we all accumulate things, and I'm sure if you're like most people, you've probably accumulated a lot of things that you haven't looked at in 30 years, sitting in boxes and whatnot. But again, that all comes to a head when you're really thinking about doing something. The other is the physical challenges, standing for hours, going up ladders to get up into an attic, falling while trying to carry one box to another room and tripping over the box that should have been moved to begin with. So again, those are some things that you will be starting to think about once you get to this stage. So I would have to say that the one big procrastination that occurs is when it comes to the downsizing. I have I've had the opportunity to visit many folks who woke up Saturday and said, we're going to start downsizing. Well, I come back again a week later, and yes, there's been 2 or 3 boxes with things put in them at the beginning, but then we tend to open those boxes back up and we start going down memory lane because for a lot of those boxes, they haven't been opened in years. So the question really comes up is, well, who's going to help with this process? And the number one thing that a lot of people's mindset goes to is family members, which is great. If you have a family who wants to get involved over the long haul and whatnot, it can be beneficial for you. What though can happen is that family has great intentions, but they're also busy. If they've got younger families, their careers, these type of things going on, what can happen is that they'll come over to the house, they'll have great intentions, the coffee's brewing, and you start the process. Well, as the day moves on, the pace of the process picks up, where they're literally, do you want this? No, let's put it in the donation pile or the garbage pile. Well, what can happen is that you're looking at 30, 40 years of stuff, and you're being asked to part with it in 2 or 3 seconds. So the stress starts building, and by the end of that Saturday, everybody's exhausted. And odds are pretty great that they won't keep coming back every weekend for the next 2 months to go through this process with you. So who's there to help with that? Well, there are companies called Move Managers companies, and they are professionally set up to come over to your home, help you sort at your pace through everything, decide what's going to your new home. They pack it, label it. The rest of the stuff goes to the various piles, if you will, to where things are going, such as charities. If you have an estate sale in mind, I recommend that you have an estate sale person come over at the beginning of the process before you start throwing away items. Because in today's estate sale, other than high-end antiques and some of those specialties, Most of the buyers that come to estate sales, they're not interested in your mint and china jewelry. They're not, unless it's mid-century modern furniture, they're not interested in the furniture or whatnot. It's just a different mindset today. What they're more interested in is memorabilia. You might have old comic books from the 60s, 70s. Things like the old Pez dispensers. I don't know if you remember the little plastic dispensers where you pop the head up and up pops the candy. A full set of those are selling for a couple $1,000s. So we tend to start tossing that stuff out as having no value, but it does. So I think it's something to think about. Of course, we discussed charities. They're getting harder and harder to work with, especially to get them to come to the house to pick things up. And lastly, once everything has been disseminated out there, you're going to be left with some stuff. And there are called the disposal companies, clean out companies, whatnot, and they will come in, look at what's left. They'll make it go away, all of it, and then they dispose of it to various connections they have. Only as a last resort are things going to the dump sites today. When you're looking at these things too, you know, the question might arise, well, what about cost? Well, the packing and sorting companies, $60, $70 an hour, which I know sounds expensive, but if you hire a moving company, they're going to charge you upwards of $115, $120 an hour to come out and pack your stuff. And they're not going to take the time or the effort to discuss it with you. You're pretty much there. This is what's going, and boom, they make it happen very quickly. Any questions?
None that have came in, Dick. And again, just a reminder for those who might have joined us a little late today that you can ask questions using the chat feature on your Zoom screen.
Okay, we will proceed. We had talked earlier about home inspections, and of course, they're meant to evaluate the structural and mechanical conditions of your home, not the market value. Though, depending on how your home works out, some of these things may have an effect on value. There's two different types of inspections that are in today's marketplace. There's the home inspection, which you have an inspector that will come out usually at the cost of the buyer, and they will go through and look at electrical service panels, foundations, roof, wiring, water heaters, all of the different components that make up for the house being livable. They're not really there too much to talk about, whether there's been an update in the cabinetry and the countertops and whatnot. That's really not their focus. The next inspection is called a sewer line inspection. And what happens there is that a company comes out, and it's normally a different company than the home inspector, and they'll run a camera. They attach it to, for lack of a better definition, the roto-rooter, and the wire will go down through your sewer and eventually connect with the main line that's out in the street. The cost for the sewer line inspections is about $225. Home inspections can be $400 to $800. It really depends on how thorough and what the buyer's looking for. So I'm asked now in our market, because a lot of consumers are saying, well, do I do the inspections myself, and or do I just let the buyer do them? Well, there's pros and cons to each way. If you decide to do the inspections yourself, what occurs is that you will, again, receive your inspection on the home inspection. Any items on it that are a defect, if you will, you have an option to look at that, define whether you wish to address it, what it might cost, or you just have to disclose those items on a disclosure statement, which all sellers have to fill out and provide to our buyer. As far as the sewer line inspection goes, to me, that's the only inspection that there's really, it's unknown. Seattle with its topography, again, unless your sewer line's backing up or whatnot, things could be going on, but you're at the top of the hill, or things may not be going on. So of the two, the sewer line inspection should probably be done in advance. One, if you've got a problem with it, it's better you know now. If you have to address the problem, you're in control of the financial component of what that might take. And it's there to provide to the buyer. And that's one less thing they've got to come out and do going through your home. Now, as far as inspections go, if you own a condominium at the moment, the condominiums, they tend to not do sewer line inspections and major home inspections because there's only so much to inspect. But what your homeowners association is responsible for is what's called a resale certificate. And this is a complete binder of documents, including the financials of your community, meeting minutes, insurance policies, reserve studies, and future studies of what may or may not have to be done to the condominium. And those go out 15 or 20 years. So that's called a resale certificate that you as a seller is responsible to provide to a buyer. And the buyer makes their decision whether they wish to go forward with the sale based on all that information provided. So do we fix the home up or do we sell it as is? I would say the majority of sellers out there today tend to clean up the house. There may be a few small things that are done, but they try to sell the home more in an as-is condition than going through and totally remodeling it and whatnot prior to sale. Now, again, if there's a major structural issue, we may have to address that at the beginning of the process. Because again, if a bank calls out for something to be done, well, they don't adhere to the as-is language that you and the buyer may have negotiated. They just won't lend on the property because it doesn't fit their criteria. And lastly, the sales price must reflect the condition and the work needed. Again, if you have two identical homes side by side, one's been totally updated, one is not, there's going to be a difference in the asking price. Let's talk a bit about pricing and how does one determine what the price should be. I found that many times go out, pay a visit to people, and before I even cross the threshold, the question is, well, what's my home worth? And I think you need to be more thorough than just off the cuff. So what we do in trying to price a home, especially in light of the fact that in our marketplace today, in most neighborhoods, the homes are selling within the first couple weeks on the market. And this shows you the activity curve that happens once your home is officially on the marketplace. A lot of people that are in waiting, they rush out quickly, they make decisions. Now, if it doesn't sell in 2 weeks, it's not the end of the world. but we definitely will get a lot of feedback that gets passed on to you on how we're being perceived. So the best way to come up with a value is to visit the house, make notes, and then put together what's called a market analysis of the property. We try to, within a 10 or 12 block radius, look at all the sales that have occurred in the past 6 months, what properties may be pending sales. In other words, they're under contract but not closed yet. And lastly, we look at the number of homes that are on the market and how long they've been on the market. And the reason for that is if you have a deadline that you need to meet for whatever reason, and it's taking 30 days in your marketplace for the property to sell, but you've got to move in a week and a half, 2 weeks. Well, we need to know what that's really going on so that we can then become more proactive with the house and perhaps with the pricing. We look through all of that, we see where we fit between the high and the low, and then you as the seller make the decision on where you would like to start price-wise. Most homes, if they sell within 2 weeks, sell within 98% plus of the asking price. So the days of adding on 10%, hoping to negotiate or dicker, those days are gone. The consumer has as much information as we all have. They interpret the market, they talk to their representative to get feedback on value. And again, you want to be pretty close to your asking price. Otherwise, they'll look at your home, put it on the standby list and continue to keep looking until they find something else. And if your home's on the market for too many weeks, it's not like a nice bottle of red wine that ages well on the shelf. The longer the for sale sign's up, if the months go by, there's a very good chance that the price of your home will diminish. Lastly, the question is, well, how much does it cost to sell the house? Whoop. The home sales are based on schedules, and they're based on the sales price of the home. So we have a state excise tax, which is in different brackets depending on the value. We have the commissions, which kind of the normal commission for homes under $1 million is 6% of the sales price. Half of that goes to the buyer's agent. Half of that goes to your listing agent. We've got escrow fees and whatnot. So if you have a thought on what your home's worth or whatnot, and you're just penciling some numbers, if you take 8.4% of the sale of a price, that'll put you within $300 or $400 of the total cost of selling your home. If you negotiate something beyond that with your buyer, of course, that's in addition. But that's a pretty safe percentage to use if you're just, again, fooling around with some numbers. All right, well, that's what I have to offer today. I'm happy to meet you at some other point if you'd like me to pay you a home visit. And if you have any questions, feel free to speak up now or send them off to Michelle. And that's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dick, for your time today and for sharing your knowledge, especially during this time. But yes, as he mentioned, we'll give it a few moments if anyone wants to ask questions. Remember, you can use the chat feature below to do that. I'll give it a couple moments just in case someone's typing. If there are no questions, as Dick mentioned, feel free to email them to me. You can always pass them along to him. I am going to be following up. If you'd like a copy of his slides, I'll share that with you. I'm also going to be emailing out a survey that we'd like you to fill out to tell us about your experience today. It looks like we did get one question, Dick. So someone asks, what is the variability in realtors' commission?
The commissions, of course, in our state are considered negotiable, which I'm thinking that's what perhaps your question is. There are different entities out there who you can hire. Probably the least expensive is a buy-owner companies where you pay X number of dollars and they'll put it in the multiple listing service for you and not charge you the listing fee. That particular model, though, does leave it up to you to set the appointments, have the lockbox on your home, do your own negotiations and whatnot. So you're really carrying quite a load. In our market today, there's probably 28 pages in there that go along with a contract. And timing is important, meeting inspectors, but that's the least expensive. There's other companies where you'll list the property with them and they may charge you a 4% fee where they take 1% and they give the buyer's agent the other 3%. A company called Redfin has some sort of a discount model that way. My own experience being on the listing side and representing sellers is that some of the discount places, the buyer's agents, some of them aren't paid on an incentive or a commission. They're paid by the hour or whatnot. And so they oftentimes don't have as much experience. But again, depending on how adept you are at selling real estate. Then as far as negotiating from there, there's, of course, the majority of the companies are full service brokerage companies like myself. We as agents pay for all the marketing that is promised. No cost to you. But again, that conversation is probably best had, when with a one-on-one meeting. There isn't an industry standard. The only industry standard that pretty much needs to be adhered to make you a great seller is 3% of the commission does need to be provided to the buyer's agent, because without the buyer's agent taking their buyers out, the odds of you having a successful sale are pretty grim. I hope that answers it.
Thank you. Any other questions? As I mentioned, I'll put Dick's contact information along with the slides. I just want to thank everyone for joining us today and experimenting using the Zoom platform on how we are, sharing information these days. So we'd love to hear your feedback and how we can improve. With that being said, my name is Michelle Barnett. Again, I am the Community Relations Associate here at Aljoya Thornton Place. Oh, actually, one more question just came in.
Sure.
Someone asked, what happens if the realtor also has a buyer?
Okay, if the realtor has a buyer for your home, again, I guess the question is if the realtor has a buyer for your home and you've not established a listing agreement, or you're not on the market, and it's just that realtor with the buyer, then it's up I get, and you want to work with that, then it'd be up to you guys to decide what the commission would be. Secondly, of course, if they have a buyer, it sounds as though they'd be representing the buyer only, and you would have no representation. If your home is listed on the market and you have your listing agent also have a buyer, that's the question is, do you want the person to represent you only, and he'll facilitate that side of the transaction? Or many times that buyer gets referred to a different agent to represent them, because otherwise you're going to have that dual agent conflict of interest that can occur. I'm not saying it always does, but it's often tempting when the professional salespeople are out there and they're looking at receiving the whole commission. It just seems to be human nature that I've observed. Okay.
All right. Well, no other questions have come in. So I think we're just about ready to wrap it up. So again, everyone can expect to hear from me later on today with presentation and the survey. So without further ado, again, thank you for joining us today, and I hope everyone have a good rest of your day.
All right. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, folks.
Dick.
Bye-bye.
Bye.